Mangoes, an amazing fruit originating from South Asia. They're the national fruit of India, and they are incredibly delicious. Ripe mangoes are sought after around the world. But in the center of these guys is a massive seed. It's easy to germinate, so let me show you how you can grow your own mango tree. And it starts right now. Start with a ripe mango. The riper the better. Like all seed from fruit, the more ripe that fruit is, the higher the chance for successful germination. Mango seeds are large, but they're also flat, and you can tell which way they're oriented inside by the fruit itself. The fruit is oval, but along one plane, it's always slightly flatter. Find that skinny side and begin to slice the mango just off center to avoid cutting into that seed. Do the same cut on the other side, pulling the knife outward if you feel a slight resistance, as though you're cutting into the seed itself. Mangoes cut super easy, but take your time here. There's no point in damaging that seed and sabotaging our project before it even begins. Cut that last ring of skin off, and we're left with the inside of the mango core. You can continue to cut slices of the flesh off, or simply eat it off, which is what I usually do. You want to get as much of that flesh off as you can, as we're going to dry this seed out for about a week, and any remaining fruit that's on there goes really bad quite quickly. You see, what we've just extracted is not only the mango seed, but also its protective husk. And we need to dry out that husk so that we can peel it away, revealing the seed inside. The husk itself has tons of little fibrous extensions on it. And while you think there may be a lot of mango meat left, often it's actually just part of that husk. Hey, let's quickly do another one so you can see that process again. After you've scraped away all that fruit, you can really see that protective husk that we've been talking about. It's quite something and almost looks a bit prehistoric. I dry mine out by wrapping them in paper towel, but you can also air dry them on a plate in your kitchen just as easily. It takes about a week to dry out, and it sets us up for the next step, where we actually separate that husk from the seed. Now with our husk dry, take a pair of scissors and start cutting away at the flat edge of one side. The husk is pretty tough, so just work your way through it. Be very careful about putting those scissors or even a knife inside that husk, because the seed itself is very, very, very easily damaged. These husks are the world's best seed bodyguards. Once you're able to pry that husk apart, the seed will pop out quite easily. The seed itself will have 2 paper coatings on it. Remove that outermost one. The inside one is much harder to remove, and it can be left on. Dealer's choice. Hey, let's try another one. Again, cut around the edge of that husk until you can see the seam where you can actually pry it apart by hand. They can be difficult, no question. just resist the urge to jam the knife or scissors right inside to pry it apart. If you do have to stick the scissors inside, stay close to the edge, away from the inside where that tender seed is. The more that you can cut away along the edge of that husk, the easier this part becomes. Again, peel that papery outer layer away from the seed. I've started to just leave that inner layer on the seed. It's of no benefit to sit there trying to peel it off. Even the husks that you leave to dry out for longer than a week, and maybe even forgot about, they'll still be viable. That husk really protects the seed inside, so don't despair if you think you left it too long. Some of these husks may even go moldy, but again, cut them open and you'll probably be pleasantly surprised. Now, after seeing several examples of how to extract the seed properly from the husk, let's look at how not to extract the seed from the husk. Begin by cutting the edge like you normally would, and next, get super impatient and jam the scissors inside. You'll notice that I seemingly, innocently, put the edge of those scissors into that husk. And just part way too. Yes, it makes it easier to get the husk off, but at a great cost. Looking closer, you can see the damage done to that tender seed. It doesn't take much, and now that that seed has a wound, it's got a place where infection can start and has a worse chance of germination. So, be careful. Next up, we gotta germinate these guys. We want to fill a tray with either a seeding mix, a plug mix, maybe even a potting mix, or, like I do, go straight up peat moss or straight up cocoa fiber. Fill your tray about 2 inches high, fairly level, and then compress it down so it ends up being about 1 inch high. Cocoa fiber really works for this because mango seeds are quite large and our substrate does not have to be nutrient rich at this point. The mango seeds have enough to support the plant as it germinates and actually for quite a bit of its early growth. Cocoa fiber comes in bricks, and all you need to do to activate it is add warm water. Whichever substrate you choose, get it good and moist, but not soaking wet. We don't want it to turn anaerobic and kill our seeds. Place the mango seeds flat along the surface of your substrate and space them about 2 to 3 inches apart. The shoot, when it comes out, will always orient itself upwards. That is, it is negatively geotropic. So don't stress about which way you place the seeds in your tray. Cover those seeds with about 1 inch of that same mixture you've been using without compressing it down on top of them. Make sure the seeds are good and covered. In nature, these seeds would be germinating inside the rotting fruit, covered by the debris of the mango tree leaves. Mangoes are highly tropical. You're gonna have to add supplemental heat to your trays, bringing the soil temperatures to around 80 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Cover the tray with a dome to prevent moisture loss, and now we're gonna have to wait anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks. Seemingly out of nowhere, we see an inconspicuous little shoot popping out from that substrate. Not that you're going to want to do this, but let's have a look at what's going on with that seed under the surface. You can see Much like the ginger we've done before, white roots are exploding everywhere. And that there's a big tree-like shoot reaching upwards. Impressive. Waiting a couple more days, and that shoot actually does begin to resemble a little tree. Quite amazing to see for the first time. And if you leave these guys on the tray, some of them might grow an inch a day in height. Unbelievable. Once the seed is sprouted and gained enough root system, it's time to plant. You'll want a minimum of a 1-gallon nursery pot for this. Fill your pot with a quality organic seeding or container mixture. You can find these mixes at any garden center or home improvement stores, but you can also make your own. I'll throw a link in the description below detailing how I make my own DIY ultimate potting mix right at home. Fill that mix right to the top of the pot, compressing it down about 25%. Before planting, however, let's let that pot sit in some warm water to soak that soil good. We won't be able to water from above the newly potted plant, so this step is imperative. Look how fast it soaks up that water. This is a sign of a quality potting mix. With our soil good and wet, simply place your sprouted mango seed right on the surface. Orient it so it's backed off into a corner, allowing that shoot to grow right in the center of the pot. Fill in and around the young plant with that same potting mix, taking care not to damage the tender shoot. Take your time here. We're right at the end, and it'd really be a shame to damage that young plant now. Compress the soil down all around that seed firmly but gently, again, taking care of that shoot. Add a little bit more mix if you have to, and leave that pot in our soaking container, just in case we need to add more water later. Bury the plant right to where the shoots meet the roots. Exposed roots are no good, and a buried stem is equally as undesirable. Place the young plant back on the heat in tropical greenhouse conditions for at least 1 to 2 more weeks. You can tell that these guys are trees. They grow so fast. Impressively so. The young mango plant will last in this pot for about 3 to 4 months, at which point you're going to seriously have to look at significantly larger accommodations. Hey, thanks for watching, guys. If you're getting value in this and the other series that I'm doing on YouTube, hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons if you'd be so kind, and I'll see you in the next video.